Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're getting at it today, getting after it today out here in the shop. Doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I don't know if I've showed you this yet. If not, I'll go ahead and show you now. I'll throw in a little clip of us unloading this car.
I got the hinges on her. Ow. Oh, the fucking steps on the ramp.
This is a friend of mine, DJs Car. It's a 68 Chevelle. We're doing some work on, doing some wiring and stuff. We're wiring all the Phi-Tech, all the lights, wiring for everything, pretty much. It is a bare shell at this point. We got to wire in basically everything, gauges, all that. But yeah, so he brought it here. He hates wiring just about as much as I do, but he would rather make me mess with it so he doesn't have to. But yeah, so we're gonna have some videos on this car here in the near future, and hopefully do some like first startup and all this stuff for this car, because I built this 400 small block for him. Like, honestly, it's probably been like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, or something like that. You know, it's nothing fancy, just a stock 400 small block with some Chinese aluminum heads. But we'll probably do a first startup on that. And today we're getting into the boost knuckle. I got something in the mail the other day. I won't, actually not the mail. I got something delivered the other day. We got a new Turbo 400 from Jegs for the boost knuckle, and it is getting a Turbo 400 with a Transbrake set up for 1200 horsepower. That's one of the Jegs Race Prep Turbo 400s. We're gonna get that put in the truck. Have to get a custom drive shaft made. Buddy of mine locally works for a company that they do drive shafts, so I'll have to get the old one out, get the new one set up in it, get some measurements, and then have him make me a drive shaft, try and get that thing here, because we're trying to go racing this week and test out the truck with the new converter. And I did swap springs, and I don't know if I made a video on that. I might have, and then didn't upload it. I don't remember. I'll have to look. But anyways, we're gonna get onto this. I'll get it up all the way up in the air, get the tranny out of it, and then we'll start going forward with this. Maybe we'll get it out in the driveway, and once we get the wiring and stuff done on the Transbrake, maybe we'll do a little Transbrake test in the driveway. All right, so we got the boost knuckle up in the air. One thing I did before I got it up in the air, because I didn't plan on pulling it back down, was I went ahead and pulled the dipstick tube out of it. So now I'm gonna pull the wheels off of it, pull the cross, well, you don't have to pull the wheels off of it, but I'll pull the wheels off of it, pull the crossover pipe off of it, starter, then drive shaft, and then it's basically just a cross member and flex plate bolts and 5 or 4 bell housing bolts, and it should come out pretty easy. But anyways, I'm gonna get underneath there, start unbolting some stuff, and we'll get back to it. Old tranny's out, sitting on the floor. Need to put that one on the buck, because that's how I'm gonna store it, is on that little thing. And then we got my buddy DJ over here helping with the tranny. Can't see him, but it's dark. He likes being on his back.
Only on the weekends.
He spends so much time on its back, the bottom of his feet are sunburnt.
So stupid.
You so stupid. But anyways, we're putting the cross member in it, which you can't see because it looks really dark on this camera. I'm going to tighten up the cross member bolts, put converter bolts in it, bolt it all back up basically. And then we're waiting on a drive shaft. Drive shaft should be here in the morning, or be done in the morning, be here tomorrow. And then we'll work on wiring up the Transbrake and all that stuff. But for now, we're gonna get this all bolted back up, finalize the transmission itself, and then we'll be waiting on a drive shaft. All right, so our buddy Andrew just dropped off our drive shaft, and he was here with me while I was trying to test fit it up in the truck. I mean, it's a drive shaft, but now it's all one piece. The old one had the slip yoke built into it, and I got a caps tight fit. But yeah, so we're gonna get this all bolted back on. Huge thanks to him. He actually had it made in a day and even delivered it. So door-to-door service, you can't ask much more than that. But huge thanks to him. I appreciate that guy. He's always willing to help me out anytime I need. So anyways, we're gonna get this drive shaft bolted in, and then I can go get some bolts and nuts that I need. We can finish this tranny up, hopefully get it out in the driveway and do some Transbrake stuff. So got all my new bolts and everything in. The transmission is in the truck. I went ahead and put 4 quarts of trans fluid, aka hydraulic fluid, in the trans. For now, I haven't started it up yet because I'm trying to rewire the fuel pump relay and also try and figure out how to wire up the Transbrake in order to function properly with the Holly. I am wiring retarded, which is funny because I have a job here that this whole car is getting wired. But when it comes to like the Holly wiring stuff, I am totally like, as soon as somebody mentions anything about wiring and Holly, I pretty much turn just stupid. Like I don't understand it ever. So I've actually been sitting there staring at the truck, I think for like 2 hours, just going, what am I doing? How am I doing this? So I'm wiring up the fuel pump relay. That's not a huge deal. I'm relocating the relay, trying to shorten up the power wire that feeds the pump so it's not as long, because it was starting to melt the connector underneath the dash where the relay was before. So I moved it and shortened up the feed wire, or the power wire going directly to the pump from the relay. I shortened it up probably like 2 or 3 foot, maybe more. Probably more like 3 foot. And now what I'm trying to do is, like, I'm laying it out, I'm getting ready to wire that up, but in the process, Moose wants to yell at us. Anyways, so now I'm trying to figure out how to wire up the Transbrake. So the Transbrake has to see 12 volts. And I'm not running a bump box. I know a lot of people, when they go with bump on the Holly, you have to run some nitrous solid state relay or something like that. I'm not trying to do all that. I don't need a bump box. I'm not out here, whatever. I just want a Transbrake and a 2-step. And I want the 2-step to activate when the Transbrake activates, or vice versa, like one or the other. I need the Transbrake to activate when the 2-step is active. So I've got a button on the dash, and that is an input to the Holly. So it's a ground input. So when I hit the button on the steering wheel, the 2-step activates. So I'm going to attempt to use that same input, use that ground input to trigger an output as well, aka the Transbrake. But I don't know if I want to send 12 volts from the Holly just directly to the brake, or if I wanted to send out a ground output and get that to trigger a relay that sends 12 volts to the brake. Mainly because I've heard people having issues with inputs, outputs, 12 volt stuff, which is why they run the solid state relay with the bump box. But I don't know if it's that way with the Transbrake, where it will backfeed voltage to the Holly and destroy ECU and stuff. So I got to do a little research. I need to talk to a couple friends of mine to see if that will even work. I don't know why it wouldn't. It should. Maybe it won't activate fast enough or something. I don't know. I don't know about sending 12 volts directly from the Holly as an output and sending that directly to the Transbrake solenoid. I just feel like that's a lot. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm totally illiterate when it comes to wiring. So I'm going to do a little research. Once I figure it out, I'll draw it up on a piece of paper and show you how I wired it up. All right. It has been a super extra long day because I don't like wiring. And as you can tell, it is dark outside. So I've been in here all day, pretty much from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. No, it's 9:30, I lied. So I got the tranny in it, all bolted back together, everything. I haven't started it yet, obviously. Got all that buttoned up, had to go and get bolts and nuts and washers and all kinds of stuff that I needed to replace. And then I had to work on wiring for my Transbrake / two-step. I don't have a bump box in it, so I had to find a way to wire the two-step and the Transbrake together without buying one of the fancy like nitrous solid state relays or whatever. So I talked to a couple buddies of mine, and this is how they told me to run it. This could be wrong. You know, some people might say this is not the right way to do it. But so essentially this wire here that says ECU, this is what I had running to the button before. And it was just a ground trigger input. So whenever I would push the button, it would send ground to the ECU, and then it would trigger the two-step since it was a ground trigger. And then once I held the button, then I could get on the two-step, but I was foot braking it. Now, since I added the Transbrake, two of my buddies said basically take the wire off the ECU or the button itself and run it directly to number 30 on the relay, and then ground both 85 and 87, and then you want to send 12 volts to 86, and in doing so basically you're going to tie into basically the button on the dash now has a 12 volt source coming to it, which there's a fuse in line here to the before the button. So the ignition switch, key on 12 volt to the button, like I said, fuse in line, and then out of the other side of the button runs down to the Transbrake. The Transbrake is grounded inside the case, but I teed into that power wire and then ran 12 volts to this here. So basically when I hit the 12 volt or the button here, it's going to send 12 volts here, and then it's going to send a ground to the ECU and trigger the two-step as well. So I haven't tried it yet, but I know for a fact that works because that's how my buddy Garrett has it in his Nova. He's beat the hell out of that thing for probably 2 years now. That's how it's wired in his car. He doesn't have a bump function or anything like that. So I'm going to attempt to try that in this. I've got all the wiring done. It was just very uncomfortable in all this. It doesn't look the nicest, but this truck doesn't really have any good way of running wires. So I basically run them out underneath the dash. Down under here, you can't really see it, but I got this black loom. There's a couple connectors here. That way I can disconnect the front half of the harness from the back half of the harness. One of the wires running back is a fuel pump relay. I moved a fuel pump relay closer to the pump because I had one underneath the dash before and it was getting hot. So I moved it closer to here so it had less power wire going from the relay to the pump, and hopefully that it wouldn't draw too many amps and get hot. But got that done, and then the other wire is for the Transbrake. So that one comes from the relay down and then out to the Transbrake. And that's whenever I hit the button here, sends 12 volts down to it, but there's a splice that goes out to a relay that's inside the dash, and then that will send it to ground to the ECU and trigger the Transbrake. So I got my keys on me. We're going to attempt to do, I'm going to prime it first off, make sure pump primes. Okay, so that's a plus. I want to cycle that again because that seems like really delayed. Oh, no, good there. And then, where's my button here? I don't know if we'll be able to hear it, but let's see. And it works. So, that being said, I'm gonna put fuel in this thing because it's almost out of gas, and I don't even know that it's got enough to start. So I'm gonna get some fuel, put some fuel in it. I still got to put the seat in it. I'm kind of rushed. Like I said, it's 9:30 at night. I'm getting ready to start this thing up, let it warm up, and I'm gonna attempt to get on the two-step in the driveway. Probably a terrible idea. My neighbors are probably gonna fucking hate me. But I need to make sure it works. I mean, I guess I could do it in here, but it'd be super loud echoing inside the garage. But I gotta move the Chevelle. So I've gotta play musical cars and try and get this thing outside and see if I can test this Transbrake and two-step. So, see what happens. Worst case, we don't make it out tomorrow, but at least we've got it fixed and ready for the next time when we do go. I do have those brackets that I want to weld for the harnesses. I ordered these online from like a dirt track store. Well, basically I'm going to weld them onto the frame that way, or onto the frame, good grief, onto the roll cage, because what I have them now bolted to the seat frame, which is a part of the body. Obviously it's all welded in. That's not ideal, especially in this old rusty truck. You know, if I flip this thing over, it could rip that thing right off the floor, and then I'm going with it. So I need to get tabs welded on the cage down here, and then I'm gonna put one down on this diagonal bar down low, and or on top of this plate. I don't know if you can see that. I got a plate right there that's welded to the top of the trans tunnel, and then I may just add one there, and that way I'll have my lap belts all tied in to the roll cage, which will be best. And then I still need to get a big eyelet and a big washer and all that stuff for the crotch strap. But nonetheless, that's all ready to go. I do need to tidy up some of the extra wiring that's hanging down underneath the dash. I need to figure out or put my ratchet or my bungee strap back on the brake pedal so the brake pedal doesn't come off the floor and out of the brake booster and then try and kill me. And it's 9:30 and I need to get up and leave by like 8 a.m. to get to the track. And I still got to change the oil on my other truck too, the white truck, the tow pig. I don't know if it's gonna happen, guys. Alright. So the two-step, don't mind my seat, because I haven't put the seat back in. So the two-step is set up to like right at 3,000 RPM. So let's check and see if the Transbrake will work at 3,000. So there's first. Woo-hoo-hoo. Holy moly. That felt rowdy as shit. Oh. I wonder if that saved the data log. Was that? Oh yeah, it did too. It was logging. So I'm gonna pull that log and we're gonna check that out real quick. That was cool. That was scary on this little stool though. I gotta get the seat put in this thing. So I changed the two-step up to 3,400 from 3,000. On 3,000 it made about 3.2 pounds of boost in probably about 3.5 seconds. So I bumped it up to 3,400. We'll see where that gets me. I'm not doing any timing retard or anything like that. So, you know, if I did some stuff like that, it would probably make more boost. But I don't think I necessarily need any more boost. You know, judging by what it 60-footed before, just foot braking it, leaving on no boost and all that stuff, hopefully, you know, 3.5 pounds ish. I'd like to get it somewhere around 6 pounds, and you know, I think leaving on 6 pounds and like 3,500 RPM will be the ticket to get that 130, that high 130 60 foot. So I'll fire this thing up and we'll see what it sounds like. We'll zoom in on this here. All right, from the time I went full throttle was 33 seconds and 200 and whatever to about 38. So about 5 seconds I was on the two-step and the brake, and it made right at about 6 pounds of boost. So I'll take it. You know, that'll be a good start. It took a second for it to come up on the converter. You can see it come up. It took, let's see, what was that, 35, 33. So it took about 2 seconds to come up on the converter and then hit the two-step there. You can see it there. But 6 pounds of boost, you know, I'll take it. That'll be a heck of a good start. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully the next video we see the boost knuckle, we can get it out to the track and test it. I do have a couple other little small things to fix and button up on it to finalize everything I just did. But other than that, that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching. Keep following along. We'll see you on the next one.